talk about the beautiful business of milk today. Yeah, yeah. I got milk. Let's talk about milk. Oh yeah, baby, let's talk about the beautiful business of milk today.
This episode of Got Milk is sponsored by Shunya Agritech, the folks revolutionizing cattle nutrition with hydroponic green fodder. Visit their website at shunya.live for more details or download the Shunya app from Play Store or App Store.
Welcome to a deep dive
yeah.
into the fascinating world of India's dairy industry.
Cool.
You're looking to understand India's place in the global market, especially when it comes to their exports and how they stack up against the competition.
Right.
We've got a pile of research data and expert opinions to dig through.
Great.
So let's jump right in.
Well, what's really interesting is that India is a bit of a puzzle in the dairy world. They're the biggest milk producer on the planet.
Really?
Churning out a whopping 22% of the world's milk back in 2019-20.
Wow.
That's more than the U.S. and triple what China produces.
22%. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But you're saying they're not a major player
Right.
in global dairy trade.
Yeah.
That seems kind of counterintuitive.
Exactly. It's a bit like a bakery that makes tons of bread but only sells a small fraction of it.
Oh.
That's the mystery we're going to unravel today.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to unpack this?
Well, let's go back in time for a moment. Back in the 1950s and 60s, India actually had to import milk
Really?
just to meet its own needs.
Wow.
They were facing a serious milk shortage.
Oh, seriously. India, the world's largest milk producer,
Yeah,
used to be a milk importer. That's a wild turnaround.
it is.
What changed the game for them?
It all started with a program called Operation Flood, launched in the 1970s. Think of it as a dairy revolution.
Okay.
They completely revamped their dairy sector, boosting milk production to the point where they went from needing imports to having a surplus.
So they basically flipped the script on
Yeah.
their entire dairy industry.
Yeah.
Talk about a success story.
Absolutely. But the story doesn't end there.
Right.
Now that they have all this milk,
Okay.
the next chapter is about getting it out into the world.
Makes sense.
That's where the export journey begins.
So how successful have they been in cracking the global dairy market?
Their exports have grown, especially after they opened up trade in the early 2000s. But compared to their massive production, their share of global trade is still pretty small. There's clearly something holding them back.
Okay, so let's put on our detective hats and figure out what these roadblocks are.
Okay.
What are some of the key challenges that are preventing India from dominating the global dairy scene?
Well, there are a few factors at play here.
Okay.
Firstly, the amount of milk each cow produces in India is lower than in other big dairy-producing countries.
So it's not just about quantity.
Right.
It's also about efficiency.
Yeah.
They need to get more milk from each cow
Exactly.
to be competitive.
Exactly. Then there are concerns about food safety and quality.
Oh.
There have even been times when countries banned imports
Oh, wow.
of Indian dairy products because of these issues.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maintaining high quality is crucial if you want to build trust with international buyers.
For sure.
What else is holding them back?
Well, there's also the challenge of breaking into a global market that's already pretty crowded and protected.
Okay.
Many countries have their own dairy industries to support.
Yeah.
So they put up barriers to protect them from foreign competition.
So India is facing internal challenges.
Yeah.
Like low milk yield and quality concerns, as well as external hurdles like protectionist policies in other countries. It sounds like a tough nut to crack.
It definitely is. Now let's zoom in on one specific aspect of competitiveness: price.
Okay.
There's a concept called the nominal protection coefficient, or NPC, that helps us understand this.
Okay, break that down for me. What exactly is the NPC?
Oh.
And how does it relate to India's dairy exports?
Imagine you're comparing the price of a gallon of milk in India to the price of a gallon of milk in, say, New Zealand.
Okay.
The NPC tells you how much higher or lower the price is in India compared to the global average.
So if the NPC is high, it means the price in India is higher than the global average, making it harder for them to compete on price.
Exactly. And guess what? Most Indian dairy products except for raw milk, have an NPC above 1. This suggests that they're not as price competitive as they could be in the international market.
That's interesting. Is that because their production costs are higher?
Yeah.
Or are there other reasons for this price difference?
Research points towards inefficiencies in their milk processing methods.
Okay.
They might be using older technology
Yeah.
or have higher transportation costs, which drives up the overall price.
So price is one piece of the puzzle. But what about quality?
Yeah.
How do Indian dairy products stack up against the competition when it comes to quality?
That's where things get a bit more nuanced to understand quality. You look at the prices they're getting for their exports.
Right.
A higher price usually indicates better quality.
Makes sense. So what's the verdict on India's dairy quality? Are they commanding premium prices in the global market?
Here's a surprising twist. India is actually a global leader when it comes to ghee exports. Their ghee is highly sought after.
Really?
And fetches a great price in the international market.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they clearly have the capability to produce high-quality dairy products, but I'm guessing it's not consistent across the board.
You got it. While their ghee is top-notch, some of their other products, like skim milk and whey, don't meet the same quality standards as other major exporters. This obviously impacts their overall earnings.
Okay, so they've aced the ghee game.
Yeah.
But there's room for improvement with other products. Now, I'm curious about where all these dairy products are actually going.
Yeah.
Who are India's biggest dairy customers?
Well, imagine a map with all of India's trading partners highlighted. You'd see the U.S., the UAE, Egypt, and Bangladesh lit up as some of their top importers.
So a mix of developed and developing countries.
Yeah.
That suggests they're not focusing on just one type of market or customer.
Right.
But the global landscape is constantly shifting, isn't it? How can India stay ahead of the curve and make sure they're selling to the right markets?
That's where the Markov chain model comes in.
Okay.
It helps us understand the loyalty of India's dairy importers.
So, like, are they going to stick with them?
Yeah.
Or go to somebody else?
In other words, how likely are these countries to stick with India or shift to buying from somewhere else?
So it's not just about who's buying now, but who's likely to be a reliable customer in the future.
Exactly.
What does the model tell us? Are there any red flags or promising trends?
It's fascinating, actually.
Okay.
Looking at data between 2009-10 and 2018-19, the model suggests that countries like Egypt and the UAE are poised to increase their imports from India.
Really?
Think of it like a brand gaining popularity. People are switching over.
Interesting.
Yeah.
While Egypt and the UAE are climbing the ladder, are there any countries that are losing their appetite for Indian dairy?
Well, the model shows that countries like Bangladesh and Bhutan might decrease their imports from India.
Okay, so it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's a complex mix of factors that can cause these shifts.
Yeah.
Price fluctuations, changes in quality, even political relationships between countries.
Right, so it's not always about having the best product.
Right.
Sometimes external factors outside India's control can influence their export success.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that the global market is constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the importance of diversification.
Okay.
India can't rely on just a handful of countries to buy their dairy products. They need to spread their risk.
Like an investment portfolio. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
So how is India doing in terms of diversifying their dairy export markets?
We can measure this using something called the Herfindahl Index.
Okay.
It basically tells us how concentrated a market is. A lower index means the market is more diverse, with no single country dominating the imports.
Okay, so a lower number is better in this case.
Right.
What does the index reveal about India's dairy export market?
The good news is that their market has become more diversified over time.
Okay.
They're less reliant on just a few key importers.
That's a positive sign.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's always room for improvement.
Always.
Can India do more to spread their risk even further?
Definitely. While they've made progress, there's potential to tap into new markets and reduce their dependence on any single one.
So exploring new frontiers is key.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about who's buying Indian dairy.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the other side of the coin.
Okay.
Is India importing any dairy products?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about India facing milk shortages in the past?
Right.
Back then, they were a net importer, meaning they brought in more dairy than they shipped out.
Right, those were the days before Operation Flood revolutionized their dairy production.
Right.
But they're the world's largest milk producer now.
Yeah.
Why would they still need to import any dairy?
It might seem counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But even countries with strong domestic production sometimes import specific dairy products.
Okay.
It could be for a variety of reasons.
Like filling gaps in their own market.
Yeah.
Maybe there are certain types of cheese or yogurt that aren't widely produced in India.
Yeah.
Or maybe they can find a better price for some products
Right.
from other countries.
Exactly. It's often about finding the right balance
Okay.
between what you can produce efficiently at home and what makes more economic sense to import.
So it's not always about being completely self-sufficient.
Right.
Sometimes strategic imports can actually benefit the overall industry.
Exactly.
What does the data tell us about India's dairy imports?
Well, their import volumes have been quite low in recent years.
Okay.
This shows that they've achieved a high level of self-sufficiency in dairy, thanks in large part to the success of Operation Flood.
That's pretty remarkable.
It is.
From needing imports to meet their own needs to becoming a major exporter, it's a testament to how focused efforts can transform an entire industry.
Indeed. This shift from being a net importer to a net exporter
Okay.
has also had a positive impact on their overall trade balance in the dairy sector.
That's a fantastic achievement.
It is.
But as with any success story, there's always room to grow and improve.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a critical question. What can be done to further strengthen India's position in the global dairy market?
Okay.
This is where policy comes into play.
Sounds like a good jumping off point for our next part.
Yeah.
We'll delve into those policy recommendations and explore the strategic steps India can take to become a true global dairy powerhouse. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Indian dairy. We've covered a lot of ground, from milk shortages to surpluses, navigating the complex world of exports, and analyzing their position in the global market. Now let's shift gears and talk about how India can level up their dairy game on the world stage. It's time to talk strategy and policy.
Exactly. India has the potential. Remember, they're already the largest milk producer, but to truly become a global dairy leader, they need a solid game plan. It's like having a powerful engine, but needing a skilled driver to win the race.
I like that analogy. So where does India need to focus their efforts? What are some concrete steps they can take to translate their production power into export dominance?
One key area is building trust and reliability with their trading partners. Think of it like any relationship. Consistency and dependability are key. India needs to demonstrate that they can deliver high-quality dairy products on time and meet their commitments.
So it's about proving themselves as a reliable supplier, not just once, but time and time again. That makes sense, especially in a global market where reputation is everything.
Absolutely. Another important strategy is focusing on products that are specifically geared towards exports. It's not just about producing more milk in general, but about producing the right kind of dairy products that have high demand in the international market.
So understanding what international consumers want and tailoring production to meet those needs, are there any specific products where India could really shine in the export market?
They're already doing incredibly well with ghee, but think about other niche products where they have a unique advantage. Maybe certain types of cheeses that utilize traditional Indian techniques, or even milk-based sweets that have a cultural appeal.
So playing to their strengths and offering something distinctive. But of course, quality is non-negotiable. What can India do to further enhance the quality of their dairy exports and meet those stringent international standards?
Remember those inefficiencies in milk processing we talked about earlier? Well, investing in modernizing their processing facilities is crucial. Think state-of-the-art equipment and technology, and implementing strict quality control measures at every step of the supply chain.
So it's about bringing their processing infrastructure up to par with global best practices. Does that mean a complete overhaul of their existing systems? Or are there more targeted areas to focus on?
It's a combination of both. Upgrading existing facilities and investing in new technologies are both important, but technology is only part of the equation. They also need to invest in their workforce.
Right, because even the best technology is only as good as the people operating it. What kind of workforce development initiatives would make a difference in the dairy sector?
Training programs for dairy farmers and processors are essential. This could cover everything from improving hygiene practices and handling techniques to understanding international quality standards and certifications. It's about empowering people with the knowledge and skills to produce high-quality dairy products.
So it's a holistic approach, investing in both the hardware and the human capital. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But in today's fast-paced world, simply cooping up isn't enough, right? What can India do to stay ahead of the curve in the global dairy market?
Innovation is key. India needs to foster a culture of research and development in the dairy sector. That could involve exploring new processing technologies, developing innovative dairy products, and even conducting market research to anticipate future trends and consumer preferences.
So thinking outside the box and not being afraid to experiment, are there any specific areas of research that could give India a competitive edge in the global market?
Definitely. For instance, research into extending the shelf life of dairy products would be incredibly valuable for exports, or developing new varieties of cheese that cater to international palates. There's so much potential.
It sounds like India has a real opportunity to be a trailblazer in dairy innovation. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. How can India leverage trade agreements to create more favorable conditions for their dairy exports?
Trade agreements are crucial. Negotiating better terms with key importing countries can open up new markets and reduce those trade barriers we talked about earlier. For example, India could focus on strengthening ties with Southeast Asia and the Middle East, both of which are promising markets for dairy products.
So it's about building strategic partnerships and creating win-win situations for everyone involved. But it's not enough just to have access to these markets right. They need to make sure Indian dairy stands out.
Exactly. Alongside trade agreements, targeted marketing and promotional efforts are essential. Showcasing the unique qualities of Indian dairy products, highlighting their adherence to international quality and safety standards, and building a strong brand presence in the global market.
Right. It's about creating a story around Indian dairy and getting international consumers excited about what they have to offer. What kind of marketing strategies would resonate with a global audience?
Think about highlighting the cultural heritage behind certain products, or emphasizing the natural and sustainable practices used in Indian dairy farming. It's about creating a compelling narrative that differentiates India from its competitors.
So telling the world about the quality, the tradition, and the values behind Indian dairy. It's about more than just selling a product. It's about sharing a story.
Precisely. And if India can successfully implement these strategies, I believe they have a real shot at achieving global dairy dominance.
This has been an incredibly insightful journey through the world of Indian dairy. We've explored their challenges, their successes, and the enormous potential that lies ahead.
It's been a fascinating discussion, and it'll be exciting to see how India's dairy sector continues to evolve on the world stage.
Indeed. We've reached the end of our deep dive, but the learning never stops. We encourage you to keep exploring this complex and dynamic industry, and stay tuned for more deep dives as we uncover fascinating insights from all corners of the world.